Good evening. I'm Ms. Bond, and today we're going to be talking about the elements of plot. Well, before you came into class, I asked you guys to read this short story, The Scarlet Ibis. The Scarlet Ibis is written by James Hurst, who's originally from North Carolina. Um, this short story is about the narrator and his little brother, Doodle. In the beginning of the story, we learn that the narrator has a little brother who was born with some disabilities and he's unable to walk. At first, the narrator wants to smother Doodle in his crib, but decides that he's going to let him live, and they change his name to William Armstrong, which in turn the narrator calls him Doodle. Well, the narrator makes it his mission to teach Doodle how to walk and how to be a normal kid. Okay? Well, it's a really good short story. The narrator takes Doodle on all these adventures. Doodle learns to walk. Doodle learns to talk. Doodle learns to be a normal kid. Well, at the end of the story, we learn that Doodle dies. At some point during the story, there is a scarlet ibis that falls from a tree that's dead, that has come from a hurricane previously the night before, and Doodle thinks that he resembles the scarlet ibis, which gives us a little bit of foreshadowing to what is coming. Well, that day, Doodle and the narrator go out on another adventure on a paddle boat, and Doodle is doing his hardest to keep up with his brother, the narrator, but since Doodle does have some deficiencies, he's not able to keep up. The narrator is really tired of helping his brother, so he leaves Doodle, and Doodle gets overexerted. And he calls out for his brother. He says, "Brother, don't leave me." And the brother does. He leaves him there. Well, the brother feels a little guilty about leaving his brother Doodle, so he goes back to find him. He finds Doodle underneath the tree, bleeding, and he's dead. Okay, so we're going to look at plotting out this story. When you look at the elements of plot, there are 5 elements of it: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So when you look at the exposition, this gives us the characters and the setting of the story. The rising action was getting us to the climax. It's like the details that build us up to the top of the story. And when you get to the climax is where the events of the story, there's no turning back. So at that point, you can only go down from there. So after you reach the climax, we're coming down from the story. And this is where the narrator is starting to resolve his issues with his brother. And then by the end is a resolution. And that's when we come to realization of why he let Doodle die. Okay? So let's go through and find out what the exposition is. So over here, we're going to plot our exposition. So the exposition of the story, we have 2 main characters, which is Doodle and the narrator. We don't know the narrator's name, but he is the narrator of the story. He's often called Brother. Okay? The setting takes place in the south of the United States. So this is our exposition. We're going to come up to the rising action. Rising action. So the narrator makes it his mission to make Doodle normal. The narrator wants Doodle normal because he doesn't want his classmates to laugh at him. So he makes it his mission to make Doodle normal. Okay? He teaches him to run and play. Like normal kids. Okay? Then you have your climax. The climax is at the very top. So this is where there's no turning back. So at this point in the story, the narrator chooses to leave Doodle during a storm. And also at this point here, we find the Scarlet Ibis that fell before they left to go play. The parents decide that the Scarlet Ibis is a bad sign, it's a bad omen. So Doodle sees himself in the ibis and he buries it. Okay, so after he buries the bird, they go play. And that's when the storm comes. And the storm leaves the narrator and Doodle kind of stranded out there. It's lightning really sharp and raining. And Doodle can't keep up with his brother because he does have some deficiencies that keep him from keeping up. So the brother is really tired of helping him. So he leaves him. So at this point, the falling action is where we're trying to resolve the issues. So the narrator goes back for Doodle. But he finds him that Doodle has died. So the narrator finds that his brother has passed on and he's really upset. So when we get to the resolution of the story, this is the end. This is where we tie up all loose ends. The resolution is that he feels guilty. And that he was the one responsible for Doodle's death. Okay, so we just plotted out the short story, The Scarlet Ibis by James Hurst. There is a short little quiz found on your Google Classroom, EDUC class. You'll find 5 short questions to answer, and there are also 2 discussion questions where I want you to answer concerning the plot. Okay? Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful night.